paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, yeah, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And
I
yes,
don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. And I want to start this week's episode off with a message from one of our listeners. This one comes to us from Evan Elliott. He says, "It happened. I watched the Card Kingdom buy list and listened to the podcast. I picked cards from Breaking Bulk and I put them away until the buy list was good. Now I own a Savannah from Breaking Bulk. Trust the process, everybody." Welcome to the show. That's how do
Just
you like
from
that?
Breaking Bulk. And
Yeah.
Evan Elliott is someone who goes to patreon.com/BSB and gives us enough money to have access to the spreadsheet where we track all our breakings, bulk, and picks of the week. So you can have a record of what we say, pull out a bulk. So you don't have to remember. You don't have to use your tiny inferior brain.
Big patron energy right there, Jason. Thank you. I just thought that was cool. That was a nice piece of feedback we got as somebody, takes a silly little game we play and not just use it to make some money that, you can throw at us on Patreon or keep to yourself or do whatever, but literally to get a Savannah driving up the price of Legacy, Breaking Bulk right there.
About the Patreon, man. Pitches ain't shit.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Corbin, joined as always by my co-hosts Jason and DJ. And this week we have ourselves a guest. Matt, aka Mountain Mage Signed Card Fanatic on Twitter, is joining the show. We're going to talk a little later about Matt's sort of unique role within the community and how he connects players to artists. So, Matt, welcome on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
How y'all doing tonight?
I mean, we're here podcasting, so it could be worse, right?
Yeah.
We have to hang out together, which is hit or miss, right?
Darn.
But, but here we are. So, yeah, go ahead and briefly tell people who are listening who may not be familiar, kind of who you are and what it is you do in the community.
Sure. So, let's see. Almost 5 years ago, I started getting cards signed by the artist for other people because I saw there was two guys who were basically in the business and they seemed to be making good money, and I thought, why can't I do this myself? And I started with just one artist, and now almost 5 years later I have close to 100 artists that I represent for signatures.
Wow.
I also sell artist proofs. Not everyone knows what an artist proof is, but they're basically really cool collectibles. They're regular Magic cards on the front, blank on the back.
Uh-huh.
Perfect for sketches and paintings by the artist. So if you want to own a little piece of original art.
They're very limited print run.
Yeah, there's typically 50 non-foils, 30 foils for each card. That can change a little bit, but that's the general. And I also auction original artwork for Magic the Gathering. Some of the artists that I work with who paint traditionally, oils, acrylics, things like that. I recently sold a piece for Gregor's Rutkowski from the D&D Commander set for $30,000, which was really exciting.
Oh yeah, the D&D set was wild.
Pretty bonkers.
We talked a bit about that with Liz on an episode a few weeks ago, but yeah, like the D&D set was always going to be just a huge shark bait for the whales of the community.
I was gonna actually ask you how much of an artist's income comes from that, because and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but at least to me as a layperson, the idea of the buying and selling of Magic original art pieces is sort of a more recent development. And I say recent in a five-year window here, but it's not something I remember hearing about 12, 13 years ago when I started playing Magic, whereas now it's it's its own niche in the community, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. The Magic art community has exploded definitely in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, you hear stories of, alpha artwork selling for like $500 to $1,000 like back in the day, and now you pretty much can't get an alpha artwork for less than 5 figures, and some, of course, more than 6 figures. But like like the dragon that I sold for Gregor's, it wasn't a splashy card. It was just a fun little dragon. Like it probably won't even see that much play in Commander because it's one of those like roll dice and maybe you get to attack the opponent you want.
Yeah,
but it's a dragon and it's Dungeons and Dragons, and that was enough.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I think that, and again, not getting too deep into sort of the weeds here, but that artists in the Magic community have been able to supplement their income that way because people may think that a Magic artist is getting rich off of making cards, but that is not how it works in the industry.
Yeah, from what I've heard from anonymous sources, that the typical Magic commission is about $1,000, and typically $1,500 for a Planeswalker. Now, of course, those rates may have changed slightly, but this is fairly recent numbers.
That's what I had heard as well. So
I heard it from an anonymous artist that one of the power moves is to negotiate for more money with Wizards, and if not, completely try to tank their reputation as a game.
I think a lot of that is it's not even just necessarily art, right? But it's just indicative of the game design industry as a whole.
Yes.
Just because it's such like a
passion tax.
Jason made that joke about power moves, but like it is a position of power that the company holds over the potential employee or the potential contractor of like, you've wanted to do this for 20 years. We will pay you nothing and you'll do it and you'll like it. And like if somebody wants to stand their ground and say like, no, my value is X higher than that, like I'm a very good artist, I'm talented, I deserve $5,000, then they know that they can just be like, okay, next, somebody else.
Yeah. There are many very talented freelancers out there who want to work for Magic. They have a wide talent pool to pick from.
Like any company like that, like Wizards, Blizzard, Jagex, Active, like all of those just household names just have that raw power in terms of hiring out, and it's not even just art; it's every level of like coding,
they have all the
bargaining
power for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to tread a little carefully here because I am a contractor for Wizards, and I don't want to, I'm not going to speak about my own experience because I've had good experiences with Wizards, but I know that that's not true across the board. And one of the people who spoke about that recently was Christine Sprankle. About everyone remembers, this is sort of the best example, that iconic photo from, I think it was the first GP Vegas, maybe the second GP Vegas. With Avacyn outside the Vegas
it was the second one because it was 2015 and that was Shadows over Innistrad.
And everyone just assumed that, oh, she must be rich from that or whatever. And she's like, no, I paid my own way there and I lost money on that weekend. I wasn't paid for any of that. And, as somebody who doing coverage has actually been responsible for a lot of the photos of the cosplayers that then goes around, it feels kind of bad. I mean, obviously it's not something I have any control over, and it's kind of like, the least I can do is get good photos and send them on to you to, so that you can use them in the future. But it's unfortunate that that's, sort of just it's the passion tax is the way I think it's referred to, is that you don't have to pay for a lot of this stuff. People will just do it for free. And as a company, why would you pay for it if you don't have to? I do think that there's people in the building who, in different ways, want to change that and work with it where they can. But in some ways, like with the artist rates, it's just maybe not what you'd expect.
Yeah. But that's why you see so many digital artists transitioning into traditional painting, because there are people out there with deep pockets who want Magic art, and whether you like Magic art now more than ever, but
Are you saying that NFTs aren't the same? Gasp!
Yeah, despite the occasional NFT success story you hear, traditional is still the best way to make money as an artist if you have the time and the patience to do it. Because like I said, Gregor's Rutkowski, he was digital only for a while. I just auctioned Slawomir Maniak's first. I'm probably butchering his last name. I don't know. I don't speak Polish. But I just auctioned his first painting for Magic. A couple of the other artists that I work with, like Caio Monteiro in Brazil, he's starting to do traditional work as well. And it's because, even like I sold Boneyard Aberration for Slowmere, which is from the arena only set. Okay, and it's of a 3-headed skeleton dog, which is not exactly. It doesn't. In the art community, we would say that artwork does not pass the couch test.
Yeah, it's not a living room piece.
Yeah.
I've heard living room piece.
Yes, it's not a living room piece, but it's still sold for $2,100, which is probably double what he made for the commission.
I mean, yeah, that seems huge.
2,100 seems pretty reasonable for a piece of original Magic art too. So
absolutely.
It seems like everybody kind of.
I went on a quest several years ago looking for the original art of Silvergill Adept. Unfortunately, it was made digitally. So NFT, please. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little more about specifically sort of how you, sort of the ins and outs of this. But first, it is time for everyone's favorite game that eventually might earn you a Savannah. Breaking Bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
No, see, I thought you were gonna go with a different direction with that, right? Like, I thought you were gonna be like, eventually, breaking bulk will be an Olympic sport. Like,
At this rate, it could be. I mean, at this rate, DJ, you'll be hardcore parkouring at the Olympics soon.
I would actually love that. That'd be
I know you would.
Like, scoring is kind of a tricky thing, probably, but
It's just
like,
judges, man. Like, how's it any more tricky than judging synchronized diving?
Well, I mean, in terms of like picking what the actual like techniques are. In terms, like, there's so many just moves.
Nah, bro. Here's the way you do it. You do it skateboard style, because skateboarding was actually pretty cool at the Olympics, right? I want to just put you in a park, DJ. The best part is you don't even have to build a park. All you have to do is take the people, drop them in the middle of like downtown Tokyo or whatever. Last Olympics are in Japan, and just say, "All right, this is your course. I'm going to put you in like Times Square and be like, all right." Other side, go. And I got judges upstairs watching you to see how well you parkour.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying, think of the possibilities. It sounds cool. But what is also cool is my Breaking Bulk here. This is an Ixalan green rare. And it's $2.
Can we ban rares, please?
I understand your annoyance at this. I'll tell you what, Jason. I'll give you a different one.
What set was excellent?
Can I guess?
You can.
Is it Shaper's Sanctuary?
It was not, although that's a sweet card.
Okay.
No, I'm going to hear you, Jason. I have another one.
Was Ixalan the pirates and shit?
It was.
Pirates and dinosaurs. Okay.
I was going to say...
the captain. It's the compass. The set symbol's the compass.
Yeah, I was going to say Ripjaw Raptor. It's a $2 rare, by the way. It's a 4/5 for 4 whenever it's self-damage draw card. But how about this, Jason? A Strixhaven red uncommon.
That's everyone thinks is bulk, but isn't.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah.
Is it the card draw spell?
Nope.
Is it a burn spell?
Nope. It's a creature.
It's a creature.
I'm not gonna know this one.
A Strixhaven red uncommon creature.
Strixhaven is a blind spot for me.
Are you talking something obvious that like no one thinks is bulk? Is it the dwarf that makes treasure tokens?
Yeah, I hear you say no one thinks it's bulk, but it's $1. Like, it's Strixhaven. It's a Strixhaven commander card. Like, people definitely think this card is bulk.
This counts.
Stormkiln Artists, by the way. Yeah, it's $1.50.
Who thinks it's bulk? Like,
Jason.
No one's playing this in paper. Except
Exactly.
PBH players.
Exactly.
So, man, you get Gaius Cradles in bulk, so
True.
like I think the Corbin's LGS test isn't a good indicator, because sometimes some of these breaking bulks are so obvious I don't guess them.
You've picked Mystic Remora as like a breaking bulk before.
What year was that?
Within the past year or two.
DJ doesn't know, because
Jason,
he
you
hasn't gone to
picked
patreon.com/BSB and given us $10 a month, which is as little as $2 or $2.50 an episode, to have access to that spreadsheet to be able to rub my nose in it. And a Mystic Remora is so obvious, why couldn't you get it?
Peregrine Drake is a recent breaking bulk in Jason's, by the way. Just saying.
That's a good one.
That's an obvious one, too.
Did you guess it?
No, I did not. Just like you did not guess Stormkiln Artist. What do you got this week, though?
I just nailed it. What are you talking about? I got it.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
I didn't get the name because I don't know the names of cards.
Agree to disagree. Go ahead.
We don't agree to. We disagree to disagree. Who
Can't
says
do
agree
that.
to disagree? Do you both agree to that?
You can't
If
disagree.
we're disagreeing,
You
then I'm
can't
not going to
disagree.
agree that we are agreeing to disagree just because you said so.
Yeah, it is very much not a particular. It's not a particularly sound rhetorical device. Anyways, Jason, what's yours?
Mine is from Shadows over Innistrad. It is a green uncommon.
Duskwatch Recruiter.
It's not Duskwatch Recruiter, you
Is it?
stupid
Is it?
moron.
Is it the enchantment that investigates or something?
No. It's not a clue card, despite me liking clues a lot.
A green uncommon from Shadows over Innistrad.
Mhm.
The Delirium was that the Delirium set? It was.
Yes.
The Delirium.
Is it the bug one? Crawling something something?
No and no. No delirium, no bugs. You guys are embarrassing yourself.
I was
There's
thinking of the card that
five
sets up
green
Delirium.
uncommons in this whole set. It's an enchantment.
So it is an enchantment, but it doesn't investigate or refer to clues.
Is it the werewolf +1/+1 enchantment?
It is Howlpack Resurgence.
Okay.
Oh, that's just. I've actually been setting those aside, waiting for Midnight Hunt to come out.
Oh,
Good call.
interesting.
Yeah.
So you don't like it when someone picks one that's so obvious?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's obvious per se. I just know that it is not worth a lot on a buy list right now, but I've
You
been
guys
setting them
guessed every
aside.
card in the set but that. It's almost $1 retail, and as soon as we get closer to the Twilight set, these are gonna go up.
Once we have a good werewolf commander, Ulrich
Nope.
is not.
Nope. Not once we have a good werewolf commander. We aren't going to have a good werewolf commander. They've already said so.
What?
The two commander precons aren't werewolves, first of all, and it's unlikely they're doing DFCs in the set.
What do you mean it's unlikely they're doing DFCs in this set?
Do you think they will?
Yes, they're not doing them in the commander decks, but they will absolutely be in the product.
Well, that's possible, but I don't think we have to wait. I think people, just on the fact that they remember, as soon as spoilers start coming in, stuff like this is going to pop off. It has nothing to do with whether it's playable or not. So you have to buy now to be able to sell in the short term. If a card proves itself, then yeah, like you want to buy based on that. But the stuff that you buy based on principle, you need to buy very early to sell to the people that buy as soon as they start thinking they're geniuses for buying a Howlpack Resurgence the first time they spoil a werewolf.
Or going to
So-
Scryfall and search werewolf.
Well, I'll tell you, I've actually been doing that because Moon Mist is a common from the original Innistrad block. I don't remember which set it was in.
Yeah,
That
fogs,
was-
it fogs
that was
except
its-
for werewolf, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that
Transform
was,
all
and it
humans.
transforms them. Yeah, that was a pick for a long time. I don't think it is anymore.
It's like 25 cents because it,
Yeah.
multiple.
There's
versions.
Howlpack Resurgence though, and there's a Full Moon's Rise, I believe, is the other one that I've been looking at.
Yeah.
I've actually been setting because I've been picking a ton of bulk with a newborn at home over the
Don't
last
buy
few
the
weeks.
stuff.
Yep.
Don't buy the stuff, but set it aside. Pull it out of your bulk. You've got Full Moon's Rises.
Is my Mayor of Averbuck pre-release promo going to finally be worth something?
It'll be
That
worth
card-
having, baby.
Stay tuned.
I
Yeah,
remember
that-
when that was the drama.
Yes, it
Like
was.
that was basically pre-Reddit. That was that was the LGS drama. Was that they switched from mythics to regular rares for the
Yeah.
pre-release promos? Because Mayor of Averbrook, I believe, was the first rare. Before that, it was like Bloodlord of Vosgoth or something like that.
That was the
And,
M15 pre-release
quite
promo.
remember
It
Yes.
was, I think it was M12. It wasn't M15.
You're right,
It was
you're
like
right,
M11 or
M12.
it was M11 or M12. But yeah,
So, not for nothing, by the way, Mayor of Averbrook in the year 2021 has gone from $2 to $4, and would not be surprised to see that card continue going up.
It's on its way up to the moon.
To the moon.
The full
oh,
moon.
that's. I don't know if I like
No,
that one.
not acceptable.
I think it was good. No, that was good.
Not
I,
invited
I
back
liked
on the
it.
podcast.
I like it.
I had to weigh my judgment on it for a bit, but I'll give it the Emperor's thumbs up. It was good.
All right, DJ.
Yeah, so my pick of the week is we're doing pick of the week, right? Because
You pick the
Are you
breaking
making
bulk.
a joke or a mistake? What are you making?
no, because Jason's breaking bulk was a pick of the week.
True. But go ahead. What's yours? What's your breaking pick of the week?
No, so my breaking bulk is a Dark Ascension foil common. To keep with the theme.
Foil specifically?
Yes. Because
Dark
it
Ascension.
is way more than you think it is.
And what color did you say?
Green. Sorry, Dark Ascension common, foil green common.
Young Wolf.
Yep. Foil Young Wolf is like $9.
But isn't that because it was a meme when it came out?
I think it's probably because it's a modern deck.
I
Why
mean,
was it a meme?
I just remember everyone calling it like Young Peasy or something. Or whatever.
I think that meme is
That's Young
about 10 years
Pyromancer's
old.
Young Beezy.
Maybe it was Young Jeezy. I don't remember. I just remember
Probably Young
everyone.
Wheezy.
Young Wheezy.
Could be.
I mean, that's about 10 years ago, so I don't think the meme value is maintained, but Young Wolf foils are just a lot of money. And it's a pauper card. It's a very good
That's what I
pauper
was going
card
to say. Yeah.
in mono green aggro.
Cube as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was in my cube for a little while. It's just it's never been reprinted and foiled to my knowledge, so it's...
What kind of cube do you have, DJ?
I took it apart, but it was like an actual, like... It was like the vintage cube on MTGO like 5 years ago, and then I just, like, as that updated, like, I branched out and made my own updates from it. I took it apart a little over a year ago just because, like, pandemic, and I was like, this is 5 digits. I was like, this is 5 digits worth of money that I could be doing on other things, and now I'm in a new house because of it, but, yeah, so sold magic cards for a house, but
Yeah, I've got a peasant cube.
Nice.
Although I do not run Young Wolf in it.
it was just hung around in my box for a while, and then I was like, I should just sell these. Oh, Young Wolf lists for $9. Okay. And I do have a bonus one just because I assumed that Jason would shoot down my pick of a foil common, so I came with a backup plan that is now your bonus. My backup plan is a rare from Oath of the Gatewatch, and it's black.
Oath of
Both of the
Liliana?
Gatewatch.
Oath
Oath of Liliana was from Eldritch Moon, Corbin, so
whatever. Dude.
no.
Is it the 3 black sorcery?
It is not. It is a creature. It
Oh,
is
it's a creature. Okay.
It is a creature from Oath of the Gatewatch that I get in bulk rares all the time, and then I list it for 99 cents on my store. Jason should get this. It's a commander card.
I don't even remember what that set was.
That's
It's
fair.
Is
It's
it
not-
is it Final Parting or whatever?
He said it's a
No.
creature.
Or is that just an area?
This was
It's
the
a creature.
second spell set, Jason. Like when you cast your second spell, do something. Was what Oath of the Gatewatch was. It had bolster. I think its mechanic. It was not a good set.
It has
Oh
none of
yeah,
those
it was the
words on
set
it.
with the ally mechanic.
It is
Yeah.
It is a devoid card. It is Sifter of Skulls. This is sort of
Oh, I know that card.
Oh,
the
that card.
vindictive vampire / blood artist / Pawn of Ulamog-esque black creature trigger when thing die. And it just makes scions, and then you sack those scions, and then you get triggers, and then it's just a 4-mana black card. It sells at $1 all day, and I get them in bulk all day. So Sifter of Skulls is my bonus.
Sifter of Skulls is the 15th most played card in EDH from that set.
It's worth money though. He's right about that. I've
It's
re-encountered
above
that one before.
Nissa, Make a Stand, Chandra, Oath of Nissa, Kalitas, Worldbreaker, and Oath of Gideon. It gets more play than Kozilek, Mirrorpool, and Crush Tentacles. Wow, okay. 15th.
Well, that's probably because Kozilek is more expensive than Sifter, I would imagine.
It's
Yeah,
like $15. It's not
Yeah.
that much more expensive.
Fair enough.
That's a big percentage point.
All right, so because this was on very little warning, I didn't.
No, that's fine.
I do have something. It just doesn't fit your. So
He's calling us an unprofessional podcast.
No,
We're
no.
prepping him for what he needed to do when he came on, and that's pretty fucked, man. You're a guest.
That's fair. It's a fair criticism.
No, what I meant to say, I was busy. No. So this is a reserved list card that I feel it's only $7.50, and I know it's not bulk, which is why it doesn't really fit the scheme exactly what you're doing here. But it's a black rare from Alliances that I think should be an EDH staple, and
Is
it
this
has.
Ritual of the Machine?
It is.
I
Thank
love
you.
that card. That card used to be bulk. I love that card.
Yes, it was bulk for a long time. Then it like spiked, but now it's dropped
It's
back.
spiked because
a
it's
lot.
on the reserved list, and people bought everything on the reserved list.
Correct,
Like,
correct.
that
The card's
card
actually
fucks.
like good.
it's a mind control that lets you. It's also a sack outlet.
And it's also permanent. Like, it's just a sorcery that just
you can't
doesn't-
remove an
Yes,
enchantment.
that's true. It's not even a mind control because you just get it. Yeah, so I just feel like it's totally unexpected, and there's so many EDH decks that want that type of effect, and I've never seen it played other than me. Not that I'm like some genius, but
No, I like it a lot.
yeah.
It's one of those-
on Olivia's stream, and everybody was like, "Whoa, what's this?"
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those old cards where if they printed it in a pre-con these days, I would look at it and be like, "Oh, that's a neat new card," and have no idea it existed.
Yeah, but because it's reserved list, I think 750 is. I mean, it's not getting any better, probably. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well let's move on. Let's talk a little more about Matt. Let's talk about how you got into this. I mean, you said that not a lot of people were doing it. I mean, how do you even get started? Just walking up to an artist, hey, how about you and I work together to make you a lot of money? Like, how does that? What's the process like?
sure. So do you want the long story or the short story?
I'll take the medium story.
Medium story. Okay. Well, I went to my first Grand Prix in 2013, and I didn't really know anything about them other than that they were big Magic tournaments.
Mhm.
So I looked at the webpage. I'm like, oh, there's going to be artists there. Oh, they sign cards. That's cool. I didn't know you could get your card signed by the artist. And because like the art was kind of what got me into Magic in the first place when I was just a little 11-year-old and I saw that shitty 7th edition common but ogre Taskmaster. I just thought the art was really cool. Just this big ugly ogre grabbing this guy.
You're not. I assume you don't work with him, considering you said it was shitty art. But
No. The card is shitty.
oh, okay.
No. I love the art. It's classic fantasy. It's Jeff Easley. But anyway, so the art's always been a big draw for me. And so when I saw the artists were going to be there, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get some cards signed. I didn't go like all in because I wasn't sure if I really wanted to get a bunch of cards signed. But they had some good names there. They had Greg Staples. It was like his first time in the U.S. and a few others were there. And I got the card signed. And I looked at them and I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. So first thing I did when I got home was I searched MTG signatures, whatever, and it brought me to an old MTG Salvation forum post. Which then
all roads end in MTG Salvation.
Yeah, yes, which then linked me to a Facebook group called Give Me Mana, which is still very active. It's basically like the signature collectors group, like just general collectors. You can buy and sell there, whatever. So I went there and I'm like, oh, this is much bigger than I thought, and you can actually mail your cards to the artists. That sounds pretty cool. And then at the time, there was basically two guys who were, doing it as an agent, like not necessarily for a living, but they were doing it. Although both of them eventually did start doing it for a living.
Mhm.
And that was Mark Aronowitz, a friend of mine and my competition, but friendly competition. And then another guy who he was really big at the time. He doesn't do signatures anymore. But anyway, I saw what they were doing, and I sent them some cards because everyone seemed to trust them, and I got my cards back in the mail. I'm like, this is awesome. I mailed cards to artists directly. I'm like, this is great. And then so GP was in 2013, and then a few years later, 2016, I was like, why don't I try and do it? I asked an artist, will you sign for me? They said yes, and I thought, wait a second. Why don't I just, try holding a group signing like Mark and Jack? And that was Mark Brill. And that was my first signing in 2016, November. And it went really well. It did take a while, but Mark Brill hadn't really done a group signing before. And everyone was excited to get their Empty the Warrens signed pretty much. That's like his big card. He's done some others like Pattern of Rebirth and Opposition. But yeah, and it went well. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And at the time, I had a full-time job. So I just kind of did as a, just a little side hustle, a little hobby. Because it signature, the costs can add up. So I'm like, okay, I'll use this money to pay for getting my own card signed. And then eventually I just started adding more artists. And like a couple of years later, I had like 20. artists, and then it just kept growing and growing. And then last year, I lost my job. So in September, which was a pretty bad month for the pandemic, my job was like, hey, everyone should come back into the office, and I was like, I've been working from home since March. How about no? Because I'd been doing fine. Like my productivity hadn't really suffered at all, and my mom lives with me. She's 65, and my son was like 3 months old at that point. I'm like, I'm not going back into the office. No.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, I thought so. and then classic Florida. Yeah, Florida. It's a right to work state, and I was not exercising my right to work, I guess, and so that gave them grounds to let me go. So at first I kind of panicked, as anyone would do, losing their job in a pandemic, and I thought, you know what? Let me try and make my side hustle into my main hustle. Let's see if we can do it. It's an experiment. I'll still look for jobs. I'll file for unemployment, all that good stuff. And just months went by, no one, not even a nibble. I had like a couple of interviews that didn't lead anywhere, and not to get too off topic, but so I started this year. I was like, all right, I have a goal. My goal is to make this sustainable for me and my family. And so far it's been doing really well. And I don't know if it was on the recording earlier, but I represent close to 100 artists at this point, if not more. I haven't really counted in the past few weeks, but I'm adding new artists all the time. I'm really trying to grow my business, on Twitter and elsewhere. And yeah, so as far as the process goes for contacting the artists, typically email, but sometimes I'll DM them on Twitter or even on Facebook if they're on there. And
is it something you find most artists are sort of into and like, I've been looking for that, or is it more like you're trying to people who aren't used to the world working that way, really, and you're kind of trying to explain the benefits?
Right. So I would say that most of the big names in Magic, artist-wise, already work for me or Mark at this point. So most of the artists that I'm contacting nowadays are new to Magic. They might have heard about it from other artists, but sometimes they're, a completely new freelancer, and they're like, well, people want my signature. Oh, you'll pay me for it? That sounds pretty good. Because for the artist, having to mail multiple packages all over the world is it's a pain.
Oh, we know the pain of fulfillment, trust me.
Yeah, especially when you're mailing internationally, and so when I tell them, hey, I can do all that for you, and you get paid, and I don't set a deadline. I know the artists are super busy with their real jobs, so I give them all the time that they want, and people are generally patient, generally, and yeah, they think it, for the most part, they think it's a good opportunity. And something easy for them.
Yeah.
You get the occasional no, thank you, and I just say, okay, if you change your mind, let me know. But,
no, that's great. I love that this. It feels like every other week we have somebody on this show who has made, who's sort of carved out their own little career out of something that no one would have thought possible. Maybe I'm gonna have to go back and look at the old episodes and make a list, because it's crazy. And all of us are sort of in the same boat. Making something out of something you didn't expect it to be. So that's really cool.
Yeah, because it just started out as a hobby, and now I registered as an LLC earlier this year and bought a label printer, which was a great best investment ever.
Oh yeah.
Somebody gave me $20 to stand in line for him to get a card signed at a GP one time while they played their round. So I think I'm basically on the track.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the first step, and
I have done that before. I'm like the other end. Like I've been sitting behind a GP booth, like buying Magic cards for 12 hours, and then a friend comes up and they're like, "Hey, can I get you a drink or anything?" And I'll just like hand them my Gonti deck and be like, "The thespian stage, go stand in this line for." So yeah, I've shared my Gonti deck a lot, and a lot of people know that I'm working on getting everything in it signed. And so I've dealt with Mark before, where there's cards from 10, 13 different artists that I've looked up, and I'm like, oh, okay, these are the artists on your list. I have a spreadsheet of my deck and all the cards I still need to get signed, and it just makes it so much more smooth instead of just having to email 10 different artists and then handle 10 different email threads. I'm like, hey, Mark, these are the cards that I need to send you. One big package, zoop, and then I get back 28 like Dan Frazier swamps in the mail plus 10 other cards for my deck. It's fantastic.
Are you the one with the damaged Conti deck? Was that you?
Oh, his Gonti deck is the source of the Delta variant.
For the record, I admire it. I like it.
I have to say, DJ, no one is ever stealing that deck. You could hand that to anyone in the event hall.
Well, and the cops could figure out who took it just by smelling everyone's hands.
Yeah, I mean, that thing is... I've never seen better theft protection for a commander deck than that deck being your Gonti deck. No one can sell it. It's valueless.
Oh yeah, like I've had interesting. So all the mana rocks are completely blacked out with Sharpie except for the rock itself.
Yep.
So like the Gilded Lotus, everything except the Little Lotus is blacked out. So I brought the Thought Vessel up to RK Post in Memphis, and it was already like that. He just looked down at it and then looked up at me. just and I was like, I didn't do it, but do what you want with it. And it turned out really cool. I'll send a picture to our editor to make sure it gets put on the YouTube video, but he did a really good job with it. And like, that's always been part of the hunt for me, at least with signing stuff, is like, I love going to GPs and just sort of planning out on this spreadsheet of my deck. It's like, oh, this person's going to be here. This person's going to be here. Okay, these artists don't do in-person events, so then I'll need to reach out to Mark or you now that I know who you are. I'll need to reach out to these people to get these cards signed.
Yeah, you actually bring up a good point, because before my first group signing through the mail with Mark Brill, I actually did grind GP lines for the group. I did it for free at the time because I was like, just trying to help out the community. And then Jack was like, listen, man, you got to get paid for your time. You're standing in line for these people. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm just being too nice as usual. And yeah, I mean, when I go to a Grand Prix, it's pretty much to meet the artists and, play some Commander side events. Typically, I don't really play Constructed too much other than Commander, but I do enjoy Limited when it comes around. But Florida's not a great place for Grand Prix, as in there aren't too many here. They were this close. They were going to have a Grand Prix very close to me in West Palm Beach, and then that was March. That was March of 2020. I was like,
that's a bit of a miss.
Yeah, and so hopefully they do that again eventually.
Tampa Bay was a couple years ago?
2019, yeah. I was at Tampa Bay.
And then Miami was 2015?
Yeah, Miami was 2013 and 2015, and there was a couple of Orlandos in there as well. But mostly I've just been making the long drive to Atlanta, just like 9 hours.
I think it's 9 hours for me, too.
Yeah, but you probably cross more states than I do.
Atlanta somehow manages to be 9-hour drive for the entire country. Like, I don't know how that works. I don't know the time dilation. I don't know the Infinity War, time dilation, whatever. But like somehow Atlanta manages to be like a 9-hour drive for everyone in the country.
Well, the curvature of the earth.
What if you just took a line that's 540 miles long and made a circle from Atlanta and saw how much of the United States it covered? It's like a lot of where everybody lives.
Yeah, it's about 11 to 12 hours for me, so only slightly more. But
right, you're out of the circle, idiot. You're not in the Atlanta circle.
Yes, sir.
All right, so speaking of Innistrad, here's my little vampire Sorin.
Oh, you have a Sorin too.
Oh, who has a Sorin here?
Nice. You named your kid Sorin?
I did. Not because of...
So did Jason. Don't listen to him.
No.
Yes, because of...
E. My son's Sorin with an E because he's Danish. That's why I told my in-laws, I'm like, let's pick a Danish name.
Mine's with an I. I basically made a long list of names that I felt wouldn't be super embarrassing for a kid to have, and I let her pick.
There you go. Boy names are hard. That's what my newborn is my second boy. Boy names are way harder to pick out than girl names.
Well,
I agree with that.
Second boy will be Gerard.
There you go.
Because but it is with 2 R's, which is unusual, but I'll take it.
I'm still a few years away from the Brainstorm Nursery grind, but I think successfully managed to claw Emily away from Lucifer as a name.
Good. That's for the best.
Don't know why she's attached to it, but like that's a thing I've had to deal with for the past 10 years.
Is that the cat from something? Who had a cat named Lucifer in a Disney movie?
There was Lucy from Disenchanted, but that's not Disney.
Somebody had a cat
I just
named
put that
Lucifer.
together. Jesus.
That Lucy from Disenchanted is
it's
short for-
Cinderella,
Yeah.
Jason. Jason,
You're
it's
welcome.
Cinderella. To answer your question, Lucifer is the cat of the Tremaine family. It's a secondary antagonist to the film Cinderella.
When some of your protagonists are mice, that makes sense. But yeah,
Thanks for that, Jason.
if we have a girl, it's gonna be Avison, which my friends have said that's not really great from a story perspective. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, she did go kind of angry, huh?
And also, he killed her.
You can that's a good one though, because that's one that you can like still shorten to Ava or something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true.
And Soren. So, fun fact: Soren is a real name.
Mhm.
It's Romanian because, of course, wizards picked a Romanian name for a vampire. And in the ultimate irony, it means sun, like in the sky sun. So they named a vampire Sun. How very clever, right, wizards?
There you go. Good to know.
But as a
Lose
dad,
Jason.
and it's a great dad joke to have a son named Sun. So I'm enjoying it.
So Matt, if I'm somebody listening at home and I'm like, hey, that sounds pretty neat. I've got a stack of cards. I wouldn't mind getting signed. What's the process? What are the costs? What is the steps?
Right. So I do the majority of my business on Facebook. I am in the process of getting a website set up just because it's past time, especially now that I'm an official business.
Mhm.
But if you don't have a Facebook, don't worry. You can DM me on Twitter or you can email me. And I can give that later if you want. But basically what you do is the only work I need from the customer is just a little slip of paper with their name on it and the number of cards, and then the color that they want on their cards, basically. And I handle everything else. I mail to the artist, they mail it back to me, and then I mail it back to you. And now that I've got my handy dandy label printer, I can ship cards back whenever people want. And as for costs, every artist is different. I am trying to keep costs down because Magic's already an expensive enough hobby as it is.
True.
And obviously I want profit, but signatures are my passion, and it's my business, but I want to share that passion with everyone else. So I'm trying to keep costs down. So typically artists will be between $2 and $4 for a signature.
Mhm.
And that includes I just take $1 per card, no matter how much the artists want, because I basically leave it up to them. I say, hey, most of the artists I work with charge this much, and I add my dollar on top, and most of them say, yeah, that's fine for me too. And yeah, so obviously, if you want to get an entire deck signed, it does add up. We all know Magic's an expensive hobby, but at the end of the day, you have something that's pretty special. How much people love getting their cards signed in person, and obviously that's the best because you get to meet them. But this is the next best thing. And if foils aren't your thing, or old borders like some people, or a different language, signatures is just a really great way to bling out your deck. And it might obscure the text a bit. You'll get a lot of jokes, but I think it's a worthwhile hobby, like a little hobby within a hobby.
Yeah, that's, Magic is many things to many people, and that's one of the neat parts about it. Now, on this show, we would talk about how signatures to a dealer are not so great.
Yes. So that's something that's brought up a lot, is that, signatures are considered damaged cards.
Yeah.
Which, as a person who collects signed cards, it's great for buying. That's absolutely true, because they'll be in the damage section typically. But yeah, so if you ever wanted to sell your signed cards, eBay is great, or the Facebook groups, like I mentioned, Give Me Mana earlier, because people will pay a premium. If the artist is deceased, like Christopher Rush and Quentin Hoover, it could carry a big premium. Like a Brainstorm. Christopher Rush signed many cards in his time, but a Brainstorm is still like $20, and it can only go up from there. And if you have an artist that's like hard to find, then the premium is huge. Although, of course, you have to acquire it in the first place. So.
Yeah, I have a friend who very graciously traded me a Chippy Mana, or a Chippy Grim Monolith.
Oh yeah.
For my Gonti deck. I just had like a wrecked one, and he found a wrecked signed one. He's like, hey, just 1 for 1 mana. I was like, Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, Chippy signatures are incredibly in demand. Many have tried. He's like the ultimate white whale, as people call him. There are
Why
many.
does Chippy not like to sign things?
He signed at Grand Prix for a while, and then stopped going to Grand Prix, and just never signed through the mail, and basically has not responded to any contact from the community. But he also hasn't worked for Wizards in a long time, and some artists are like that. They want their privacy. They don't want any more involvement with the Magic community. And it's unfortunate for us collectors, but at the end of the day, we gotta respect their wishes. Although, of course, persistence is how I got some of the artists that I work with.
Right.
Of course, polite persistence, and I mean sometimes I'll message literally like once a year just to check in. And that's gotten me quite a few artists that people were like, "Whoa, Matt got," like Daniel Lundgren was like my first like white whale. He had like rarely signed for anyone, and then I just asked, once every now and again, and eventually he's like, "All right," and now he's done like 4 or 5 signings with me. Now a signature is worth like nothing, which is good in a way, because I'm bringing prices down, and like there's been many a time where I'll announce a signing. And people will be like, I was just about to auction that card because the signature was worth something. Now it's not. Eric.
It probably is something that's only going to grow. I mean, look, I still look at a signed card if someone tries to sell it to me and I say, I'm sorry, I just can't do anything with this because
it is
the volume is so much harder. You can't. It's just so much more work to sell a bunch of signed cards if you're trying to move through a bunch of cards. But the older Magic gets, the longer it goes since some of these artists have worked with Magic, and without getting too dark, as we move forward, there will be artists who just aren't signing cards anymore. It's gonna, and so it's an interesting market to watch in that sense to see kind of where things go from here with it, because like you said, the right signatures are worth a premium.
Yeah, I mean Eric Fortune, who's done a few cards, but his claim to fame is Mole Drifter and Dryad Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
His signature commanded, a huge premium, and out of the blue, I just messaged him, and because I had messaged him once and he didn't respond, and then I messaged him again like 2 years later, and he's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then it was just like, boom! You should have seen my table, just Dryad Arbors and Mole Drifters as far as the eye could see.
Nice.
And that's honestly kind of part of the fun for me, because before I was doing this as a business, I was a collector, and I still am a collector. Like, Mark has kind of moved on from Magic. Like, he still collects artwork. And he has a lovely collection of paintings. But as far as cards go, I mean, he has them. He has some, but he doesn't actively collect them. That's like I'm very entrenched in the community. I'm like the Scarface. I'm doing my own supply or whatever the line is. And yeah, so it's like I'm here to bring signatures to the community, and new artists and old artists alike, and it's something I think it's a really worthwhile endeavor for anyone.
Nice. Well, that is cool. This was a deep, an interesting dive here. I did not know much about this. I didn't really know this, that your role kind of even existed. So this was fun. Yeah.
And I've got all sorts of stories about artists and whatnot, but I'm sure that we're running out of time.
Well, let's see. We do need to get to our last segment here. It is time for our picks of the week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
I'm going to go first, and I have a card that, we talked last week about cards that you miss the spikes because you just kind of take them for granted. Well, I was looking at Modern Horizons 2, and one of the cards that people kind of passed over because it's weaker than other options for what it does, but is still very good, is a kind of a class of card I think that people miss a lot, right? It's kind of like Mox Amber. Mox Amber came out and people were like, this is the worst Mox ever made. They finally made an unplayable Mox. And now Mox Amber is an expensive card because it turns out there's no such thing as an unplayable Mox, right?
So far.
Yeah, right. So far. I mean Mox Amber's not $30.
Yeah, I mean, there's still the one they just made, the Tanninite or whatever. The
suspend one, yeah.
Tantalite.
Give that one a minute. We'll see. But yeah, in the same vein of looking at reanimator targets, the card Archon of Cruelty is a mythic in Modern Horizons 2. It's $6. It's basically been fairly flat since it came out. But that said, it has climbed from its low of about $5, $4.75 to $6 here, and it's a mythic from a supplemental set that came out during the pandemic, and it is actually a very good reanimation target. It's an 8-mana 6/6 flyer when it enters the battlefield or attacks, so it's got the Titan claws on it. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, loses 3 life. You draw a card, gain 3 life. I mean, that is a powerful Magic card, even though it's not Gristlebrand, right? So I'm just looking at a $6 mythic from a set like that is going to get the it's going to be around in different formats for a long time to come. So I like picking up Archon of Cruelty. I will take everyone's silence as confirmation that was a brilliant pick, an inspired pick, and I'm going to toss it to DJ. DJ, what do you got?
Yeah, so I have a card that Corbin picked over almost a year ago, and I thought it was more recent than that, but surprise, 2021 is closing. It's closing months.
Turns out.
So I was like, oh, Corbin just picked this recently, but he didn't, and it is still a bulk rare, so this is your reminder to buy it this year. Dawnglade Regent from Commander Legends is a big, dumb, green idiot. It's a 7-mana 8/8, so obviously already above the power curve there. ETB, become the Monarch, and as long as you're the Monarch, permanents you control have hexproof. This card is silly. It is only in 2% of decks on EDHREC, but that's just because I don't think a lot of people know this card exists. It is just very, very powerful in any sort of deck that is going to cheat out big things or ramp out big things. It's very, very strong. It's an elk, so it always goes in Volo because it's got
a different type.
It's got a unique creature type of elk. But this is just a very, very powerful card that I've only played against a couple times, but every time it resolves, it is a huge problem.
It also goes in the new Naya Monarch card, right? Creature.
I would imagine so. I mean, it's
Carthalion, Jared Carthalion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dawnglade Regent. I'm actually shocked to see that this is still this cheap.
Oh yeah, I thought of the card's pick of the week.
The same exact thing happened with another card that gave you Monarch that was like just a big dumb green creature, and I was like, this is good, and then didn't forever,
and
then
I
didn't buy as many because it and then the card today. What's that card called?
The one that gives you double mana, right?
Double mana.
The 6 mana.
Regal Behemoth.
Regal Behemoth.
Yeah, Regal Behemoth.
Regal Behemoth. I was like, oh, well, Regal Behemoth, it's been a year, still hasn't gone up. I got some idiot who doesn't know how to assess Magic cards. So I got to be dumb twice.
You're actually right. I mean, you're right about this in comparison. Is Regal Behemoth, even a year and a half after it came out, was a 50-cent card exactly like Dawnglade Regent, and now it's a $16 card.
Regal Behemoth is a better card than Dawnglade Regent, but there's no reason to think it doesn't go to $5.
I'm only half. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Like, Corbin picked this card when it was 30 cents or whatever, and I thought of it in my head. I'm like, oh, I wonder what the price of this is. I'm sure it's up to $1 or $2, and I'll still pick it to go to $5. No, it's still a bulk rare.
That's crazy. I'm gonna go buy a bunch tonight. I'm not even lying. I feel good about that card. Good pick, DJ.
But like, I mean, we can real quickly go on EDHREC and like let's compare the amount they're played relative to each other. Like Dawnglade Regent is a newer card. It's in 2,500 decks, which is 2% of all the eligible green decks, and then Regal Behemoth. And again, this is in the last 2 years, and Dawnglade Regent's only been out 1 year, but Regal Behemoth is in 5,700 decks, so it's
but
which is twice as much, which means,
but also still only 2%.
So it might just be me, but when I first read that card, I thought it said whoever is the Monarch gets double mana, and therefore thought the card was awful.
Oh,
so that could just be me, but
that would still be sweet because it makes people punch each other, which is what you want.
Sure, if you want like a group slug type of theme. But I definitely was like, I don't want to give my opponents double mana, and then purposely didn't play it. And then I read the card again like a year later when it spiked. I'm like, oh, this card actually is very good.
Yeah. All right, Jason, you're up, buddy.
Master of the Wild Hunt is like under $10. It's like $5-6 on TCG Player. It's 10 on Card Kingdom. For the same reason, I think that you want to be pulling your Wolfie cards out of bulk, I think Master of the Wild Hunt's just going to continue to go up just because it's a good card. Hasn't been printed since Masters 25. If they do print it again, it'll be on this stupid list just so it can ruin someone's booster draft, like Mark Rosewater said today is a good thing, which is a separate side rant. But like, if you can get this card around $5-6, it's already 10 on Card Kingdom. There's no reason to think it won't be $15 or like $10 on a buy list when they announce the cards of the Twilight set.
So this is a very interesting card for a couple reasons. One of which is that it gave me sort of the first glimpse into like the typical Amazon customer for Magic, which is, I guess, sort of like the archetypical builds casual decks, may or may not use sleeves, has never even heard of like a Friday Night Magic or Mark Rosewater or anything in sort of the influence sphere of how we all interact with the game. I was buying a collection and somebody sold me and this was like almost when Innistrad came out, but not quite. And they're like, oh, I have a wolf deck. And I was like, oh yeah, werewolves are coming out soon. Like, yeah. It's like, no, it's a wolf deck. And it had like 4 wolf skull shamans, 4 Master of the Wild Hunt, 4 Ren's Run Packmaster, like just tribal wolves. And that's like, I learned that that's like a real thing, that people just build tribal decks by buying cards off Amazon or TCG or eBay or whatever. And then like those cards just exit the marketplace forever because these people don't sell cards. They don't interact with the marketplace the same way we do. And so like, that's just a thing. It's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of Pegasus tribal decks out there somewhere where like, all those Mesa Pegasusi or whatever, they just exit forever. And Master of the Wild Hunt is like, yeah, it's you can put it in your werewolf command or whatever. But like, people build tribal wolf decks and they will spend their paychecks on like 4 of these and then they're just gone forever.
This card's good.
So like the supply just goes down in such a different way than most other cards.
I also know that it was a cube staple for a long time.
Yes.
It might still be.
It's still pretty good.
It is a very powerful card, that's for sure. I'd actually kind of forgotten about the card, but it turns out it's still worth money. I haven't seen one of these in a long time, even though it was in Masters 25. I like it. All right, Matt, did you want to jump in with the pick of the week?
Sure. So it's not exactly bulk and it's not exactly very expensive, but a card that I think, and I just checked because you were looking at what percentage of green decks, for example, and to continue the green theme.
Yeah.
I think Mitotic Slime is pretty underplayed right now. It's great in sacrifice decks. It's great in token decks. It's an army in a can. It gives you like multiple death triggers. It's good for populate. And it's like a $4 card. It's been reprinted a couple times. I
didn't know this card was $4.
It's only recently started to go up, actually. I didn't realize it was $4 either.
It's been reprinted in a couple of Plane Chase sets, but you have to then have bought Plane Chase.
And that's 10 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I never see these.
I've got these in my bulk for sure.
This was one of the first cards I ever played in my first commander deck I ever built. Yeah, so I played this in Savra as like one of my first lessons in like how infinite combos work. Because I had this, and then I had Nezumi Grave Robber, which flips into Night Eyes, and then I had Phyrexian Altar, and I just learned like, okay, I play this for 5 mana, then it makes 7. Then Nezumi Grave Robber brings it back for 5 mana, then I make 7 mana, then I get life, and then I get infinite life, infinite creatures, infinite sack outlets, infinite resurrect everything, infinite ETB triggers, infinite eternal witness, infinite mana, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
Yeah, this is one of my first like mind bloom moments in Magic of how like infinite combos works. Mitotic Slime. I love this card. It's a pet card of mine.
Yeah, and in my like second ever commander deck was Crush the Bloodbraided, which I still have. Mitotic Slime was one of the first cards, I put in it. It's still in there because it's still very good. And yet, I look on EDHREC, and we all know how popular Corvold is. Like, Crush has been completely replaced by Corvold, I feel, for Jund Sacrifice. And Mitotic Slime only sees 1% of eligible green decks, according to EDHREC. And for me, similar theory. It wasn't an infinite, but, you have a Crush in play, you have a sack outlet, and then, you get 4 power from the original, then another 4, and then another 4. And that's already, Crush is already, so it's like a 15/15 at that point. And I've killed many of people with Crush commander damage thanks to Mitotic Slime.
Yeah, this has got to be an Ave card, or I believe that's the Progenitor Ooze card that came out recently. That is Ooze Tribal.
Yeah, it's probably exactly probably because of Ooze Tribal, and then because like people really loved Reform for a while, and they're very comparable cards, but I think Reform probably sees more play. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
Cool. I like that because I'm in the same boat as DJ. I had no idea that card was worth money now.
Perception is reality. It doesn't matter how much play a card actually gets.
True.
Yeah.
Separate, small, tiny rant, mini DJ rant.
Okay.
Why does I don't like the trend of every legendary creature having to have a name. Like, Ave didn't need a name. Nobody cares about Ave's name. No, like, it's just the legendary ooze, and they could have just called it the progenitor ooze or whatever, and it would have been cool, it would have been sick, it would have been legendary creature, it's fine. But, like, somebody's gonna walk up to me to GP and be like, do you have Ave cards? And I'd be like, Dave? What the fuck is Dave? Like,
so you prefer names like the Mimeoplasm?
That is, that, like, for things that don't, like, that nobody named it. It's just the concept of a giant sentient being that is just slime or whatever, like...
The ooze doesn't know its name is Ave, by the way.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I guess you could say from a flavor perspective, it's what the locals have called it. Like
why would they give it a name, though? Why would they, like, that ooze that eats our kids?
Well, like, you know how, like, there's, like, the fish in the lake that no one's ever caught, and people have named it, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, it's a common urban legend. So I'm just saying, maybe...
but I don't like I don't think it fits on a Magic card, is what I'm saying. Like, it's...
Yeah, I agree that not every legendary needs a name.
If you call it the Progenitor Ooze, it's like, yep, I know what that is.
I mean, look, you got too many names on legendary creatures, and you got way too many names on non-legendary lands, I'll tell you that much.
Thanks, Zendikar.
Yeah, thanks, Valkut. All right, well, everybody, thank you, by the way, for listening. And Matt, thank you for coming on. Tell people where they can find you across the internet if they're interested in getting some cards signed, or just following you across social media.
Absolutely. So I'm at Mountain Mage on Twitter. You'll see me posting, auctions there and lineups. Like, I'll typically announce lineups a few months in advance, and I'll post it there. And just, other mostly Magic stuff. My actual group is facebook.com/groups/mountainmagesigs. Hopefully soon I'll have a real website so that people who aren't fans of social media can get their signatures that way. I am on Instagram a little bit, Mountain Mage there as well. But yeah, Twitter and Facebook are the best. And if you're not on either of those, you can email me. It's mschnei56@gmail.com.
We'll put it in the description.
In the show notes it goes.
In the show notes, perfect.
Right,
but Twitter and Facebook.
Great. Well, Matt, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking with us about it. Everyone else, thank you for hanging out. This is Brainstorm Brewery, and we'll be back next week.
Thanks for having me on.